We all set? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Lot discussed in there, and at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to seal the minutes of executive session.
So moved.
Oh, I guess motion to come out of executive session, my mistake. So moved, that was, and second. All in favor? Aye. Now a motion to seal the minutes of the executive session, if I might. A motion to make that sealed? Anyone?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, so we're out of executive session officially, and into the regular session tonight. Roll call, Mrs. Lavoy, please.
Glenn Shibley,
I'm here.
Greg Labasanier,
Here.
Kerry McGee,
Here.
Karen Carlson,
Here.
Deborah Bacon, Graham Waters,
Present.
Nick Gorham.
Here.
Okay, and Mr. Spearman, I thank you for hanging on, and if you could be so kind to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir.
Everybody rise, please. I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And while we're still standing, if could please bow your heads for a moment. Dear Lord, we ask for your blessings here in Coventry tonight, your guidance. We ask for your blessings over the two police officers that were shot and killed in Ohio this week on a domestic violence call, which all too often ends in violence, and their families and their communities. We pray for our safety here in Coventry, our public officials, our public safety officials, police, fire, rescue, and all of our citizens in Coventry. This I ask. Amen. And Mr. Spearman, the evacuation plan, if needed, please.
In case of an emergency, the two exits in the rear, those to the right or left, and take the outside. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're set and going. President's comments, I'll make them brief. Just first meeting in February, council meeting. It happens to be, as I think we all might know, February 12th, the remembrance birthday of our very famous President Abraham Lincoln, one of the great leaders that we've had, been blessed in our country, and all the good work that he was able to bring to our country in a very turbulent time. We also, as far as President's comments go, I know that we have our Valentine's week Wednesday, and we ask for all our families to be cognizant of the fact that families are precious, and take care of your kids, grandkids, spouses, friends, loved ones, and have a happy Valentine's Day. And other than that, I'm going to wrap it up because I know we're kind of running a little bit behind schedule. Next, Mrs. Carlson, I guess we'll do this next, is the proclamation. We'll turn it over to you. I guess that's number 3, then I just got to mention something else afterwards.
Okay.
Yes, it's all yours.
As some of you may know, we're
gotta mention
very proud of the fact that Sherwood Village, or Sherwood Valley, sorry, they call it Sherwood Village. They have gone resident-owned co-op, which is really exciting because this is the first one in Rhode Island to do so. So there's 170 units, and this gives a lot more financial security to the people who are living here, who mostly are on fixed incomes, as we know. So I'd like to invite, who's here for? Okay. president of their board. She's worked very hard. It's taken, what, at least a couple of years?
No, it was 6 months we had.
No, but haven't you kind of been in this in the
I've
ranks?
been in it 5 years up here.
Oh, okay. So, if you want to say anything?
No, everybody here has been more than helpful. You can't ask for a better group of people. They are all in the same,
Yes,
they've been behind me 100%.
right.
I have no, except now we knew our help.
And the town is here to help you. Yes, right? Absolutely. Okay then. So, the town of Coventry, state of Rhode Island, and Providence Plantations. Proclamation presented to Sherwood Valley Cooperative Housing Corporation. Whereas on January 16th, 2018, the homeowners of Sherwood Valley Mobile Home Park purchased their 170-home neighborhood. And whereas the purchasing becomes the 213th nationally networked resident-owned community. And whereas this model preserves homes as permanently affordable, cost-efficient, and achieves long-term security as a home ownership model. Now therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Coventry extends its sincerest congratulations to the homeowners of Sherwood Valley Co-op Housing Corporation, becoming the first housing co-op corporation in the state of Rhode Island. In testimony whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the town to be affixed this 12th day of February, 2018.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you
Congratulations to
again
you.
soon.
Yes,
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
very nice.
Thank you all for coming.
All right, very nice. Okay. Oh, she is sweet. Okay, thank you. And Mrs. Lavoy, next, number B4, matter of the approval of the town council minutes. I guess you've got them in front of us, so not much more to say on that. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for the January 22nd meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. On page, oh, sorry, gosh. Sorry. Okay, page 14 of 43, which is actually page 2 of the minutes, it's kind of confusing. Under, in the middle, where it says, Mr. Waters replied, this information was provided December 11th, and he would get me another copy. It's regarding the vacuum truck. He's gone. Where's that?
He went to find one of the speakers for tonight.
Oh,
He thought he was in the lobby, so
okay.
he excused himself for just a minute.
Okay.
So,
I still had, the point was I didn't get the information. Okay, then,
Okay, but the minutes reflect it.
that he was supposed to, but I didn't.
Okay.
Okay, then I had a note. Oh, on page 27 of 43, I guess it's the 4th paragraph from the bottom. Councilman Carlson asked what the thought is behind having a council member on the sewer subcommittee, and do we know why? I thought there was more discussion regarding that question, and then I think I said if somebody from council is going to be on there, they should be a non-voting member of the sewer subcommittee. So just to note that, I think I mentioned that. I don't know, I mean, I thought, that was a couple weeks ago. And then on page 30 of 43, third paragraph up, well, actually, 4th paragraph up. No, 3rd paragraph. Motion made by Councilman LeBassiniere, seconded by McGee, to approve. The vote was taken. Councilwoman Carlson and Bacon abstained. I did not abstain because I didn't get to vote because it got closed down so quickly. I never got a vote. I was still asking questions, and there was no vote, so I do not agree with the word abstention or abstained in here. So I'd like that removed and say that I did not have the opportunity to vote. And then the meeting was abruptly adjourned, and again, Carlson and Bacon abstained. And actually, I was still asking questions, I didn't abstain, and I voted no to adjourning. So I'd like it noted in the minutes that I did not vote to adjourn. I voted no against adjourning.
I also, on the same, those were my highlights. I did not have an opportunity to vote, and then on the last, to close the meeting, I voted no. Thank you.
Okay, so noted on their comments. I would leave it as did not vote. Opportunity was there, it just did not occur. And on the other thing is, that's it. All right.
No, it's, I voted no
Or
to adjourn.
Then put that, that'll be their request for the minutes, all right? My comments with the did not vote, but put how you want, and
Well, I
we can go
said
back to the records.
specifically no.
Okay.
And also-
Councilman LeBossinier has some.
Turn my microphone on. Actually, it's on the same page, on page 30. It was a little bit of ruckus at the end of the last meeting, and I actually didn't hear Councilwoman Bacon say that she wanted noted that Councilman LeBossinier was on his cell phone before we took the vote. But when I was reading it, I kind of had to chuckle because, you know, Mrs. Bacon, if you really want to see, you know, she charging me with being on my cell phone. I have my cell phone right there, and every now and then something pops up on there, and I would like it, if you want it noted that I was on my cell phone, I'd really love to have it, the content of what my text that I received, okay, was my daughter's bowling scores from the night that she just got done bowling on Monday night. So I'd like to add that in there. So because entering this into a public record like that, you're trying to make my vote look like it was a nefarious deed before I took it before the vote. That's my perception. Okay, so I would like to put this in there that's the text that I received. It's dated and the time, 9/12,
All right.
3.5 hours or 3 hours and 12 minutes after our meeting started. So I would like this entered into our record, please. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Here's
so
the text I received.
So noted.
So everybody will know.
Well,
Anyone else on the minutes before we approve them?
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
have been told we're not supposed to be on our phones during a meeting.
I wasn't on my phone. Plain and
You
simple.
obviously were, you were texting, and while we were having a very heated discussion.
There was no heat,
it-
okay.
You were.
That's over.
No, but I
It
mean,
was
you.
not a nefarious thing, and again, it's something
It
that
do-
you've
I
done
never-
numerous things to try to discredit what we're doing and to discredit the vote. Like that was something that is going to be in the permanent record. And there,
No.
so therefore, my text will be in the permanent record.
We are
Thank you.
here to represent the people, and while
That's
we're doing
correct.
that, and no, I
That's
should
right.
be able to have my say, Glenn. So when we're sitting
I
up
think you
here,
have.
we should be giving,
Thank you.
we should be paying attention. Obviously, that does not happen. When you're on the cell phone and you are during a discussion and vote, it had to be noted.
Mrs. Bacon, you've had nothing but disdain for anything that we voted on, so I wouldn't
my
expect anything
goodness.
different.
Okay. Any other comments before we
That's
approve
all.
the minutes?
Thank you. Get all the way to the next minutes.
A motion was made to approve and seconded with the so noted individual notes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, minutes approved. Whew. Okay, next, we have council updates. Mr. McGee, are you with us?
Yes.
I'll start with you down there on my peaceful far right side.
It's actually been a good couple of weeks in our district, so I have nothing to report at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Working this way, Councilwoman Bacon, District 5.
Yes, hi. I don't know if I should direct this towards Graham or Nick. I'm not 100% sure, but we have our rooster back in District 5 off White Oak Court. It has been crowing away or whatever it does early in the morning and throughout the day. Who should the residents contact regarding this, especially on the weekends? Who do they contact? I know roosters are not permitted. Again, it's coming from the area of Dorrit Court. So what should the residents do? Who should they contact?
Yeah, I believe in the past we've had our zoning enforcement out there.
Can you speak?
In the past, we've had zoning enforcement go out. On the weekends, I would call in to probably the town non-emergency line to report it. and see if I don't know if just so it's on the record of what time and where the address is. I think in the past
They're not 100, like I said, it's in the area of
Yeah.
Dorrit Court.
I know in the past when we went out to investigate it, it was difficult to locate the offender. I'll have to go back and look to see what the resolution was at that time.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Carlson, District 1.
Okay, a couple of notices for meetings this week. Tomorrow night will be the first meeting for the Comprehensive Plan Committee, 6:30 at the Annex. Everybody is invited. If you don't know what the comprehensive plan is, see me later, and I'll explain it. It's an incredibly important document for the town. It's like the Bible for the town and where we're going in the future. On Wednesday, there's a sewer subcommittee meeting at 7 o'clock in this room. Okay, other questions? I write little. Oh, okay. I had discussed this with Mr. Waters via email. The Camp Westwood Road issue with the aprons. Camp Westwood Road was resurfaced. There are some driveways that have gravel. Apparently, by ordinance, we don't really have an ordinance that requires any sort of apron at the bottom of your driveway to stop all that gravel, dirt, and everything running down the driveways, getting on the new road surfaces, causing either icing during this time of year, or when we have heavy rains, it's all gravel. Cars are probably wearing down the surface. Is there anything we can do about that? And it's not just Camp Westwood, but that happens to be the brand-new surfaced road that's come to my attention.
I looked into this with the Public Works Director. We can't mandate that they pave their driveways, so it's very difficult to tell a homeowner, say, you need to pay for your driveway if it's a dirt driveway. And
But
the
is there
water runs
anything when
off.
they're resurfacing that they can do along the edge? Like,
That the town can do?
right, like a berm?
I'd have to look into that.
Okay, would you do that
Yeah.
for me and let me know? Because I know it's causing some problems there. I know there's a problem on my road, too, with icing, so that comes down the hill. The next thing is, how are we doing with our flicker study for District 1 from the
Good.
turbines?
We're trying to locate some information on the type of turbine to get it to the consultant. So
I
they
probably
can-
have that.
Do you? Okay.
Yep.
I just handed a bunch of files to planning today to go through to see if that information's on there.
If you can't find it, let me know.
Okay.
I've got extensive files on the turbines.
Okay.
And and then I've asked for an amendment to both the gun range, to have that amended in the ordinances, and the abutters notices for any subdivisions, wind turbines, solar solar applications. So Mr. Waters and Mr. Gorham and I will meet with the planning department and start getting something in the works for amending these two ordinances and seeing, what we can do to fix the situation for notices, and also to take the allowance for gun ranges and put them in a better location, or no outdoor gun range in a residential area. And I think that is it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman LeBossinier, District 2.
Well, District 2, I wanted to mention that we did have our little town hall talk, and I wanted to thank the President Shibley for joining us this past Saturday morning. We had about 16 or 17 folks overall, which was very nice. We had a lot of discussion. We discussed the possible changes to ordinances for the gun range and notification. We discussed the sewers. We discussed a number of different topics. I haven't scheduled another one at this time, but I think through the budget process we may need one or two more Saturday mornings. So, and other things that we've spoken about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. District 4, just wanted to mention that had one resident email me regarding the structure that was put up by our school department for the maintenance of vehicles in Oak Haven School. A concern with a window the house being broken with the drilling and just some concerns overall. And at this time, I'd like to just pass it on down to the manager, and whether it be the school department. I know school committee member Florio also got a copy of that email, just to address it the best we can, or at least give answers as to why. And basically, that's it on District 4. Next, we have, under B6, we have a discussion on the water issues at the center of New England. Mr. Matt McGowan is here tonight, and Mr. Gorham, would you like to, or Mr. Waters, either way, lead into this one as we go?
Sure. Mr. McGowan is here tonight. Mr. McGowan, if you'd like to come up. There's a number of weeks ago, I can't recall the date precisely, but there was a E. coli announcement for the center of New England where a boil water advisory was issued. There's some confusion over the communication between the town, the receiver, Mr. McGowan, and Kent County Water and the Department of Health for the state. At the request of the town council, I asked Mr. McGowan to be here to answer any questions and to give a brief statement about how the notification failed to go out and how the E. coli, I guess, outbreak, for lack of a better term, came up, and some more background information, and to answer any questions that the council might have of him.
Very good.
Sure.
Thank you for coming, Mr. McGowan.
Okay, thank you.
Go right ahead
Thank you.
with your presentation.
Right. Thank you for having me. So as background, I'm the receiver of the Center of New England Development, which is essentially the unsold, undeveloped areas at the center of New England, which is a large multi-use development that spans 3 towns, the towns of East Greenwich, West Greenwich, and Coventry. I was appointed as permanent receiver in January of 2013. Shortly thereafter, I became aware of the fact that there was some process that the former principal of the Center of New England Development, Mr. Cambio, had going on with the Rhode Island Department of Health Water Quality Office. And so, to make a very long story short, there was some resistance to my having a seat at the table when there were going to be some discussions between Mr. Cambio and the RIDOH Water Quality Office. I was ultimately appointed to be the special master of the water system at Center of New England, and thereafter discovered that even though that system had been operational for about a decade, it had never been licensed or certified through the Rhode Island Department of Health. So thereafter, I became the receiver. We did what had to be done to have the water systems there at the Center of New England certified and licensed by the Rhode Island Department of Health. We did that at considerable cost and expense. It was the first time in a decade that it had ever been certified and licensed. And it's been certified and licensed as 2 separate public water systems. One relates to the water that comes in at the New London Turnpike entry point. The other relates to the water as it comes in at the Hopkins Hill Road entry point. So there are 2 public water systems there at C&E. Once you have a public water system, and I have Alex Bishop here from Northeast Water Solutions, Inc., which is the company that does the water testing for us at Center New England. Once you have a public water system, there's requirements that it be tested, and it's tested on a regular basis. There are 10 tests that are undertaken monthly. Typically, there are 5 tests taken in the first couple of weeks of the month. There are 5 more taken at the end of the month, the last 2 weeks of the month. On December 21st of last year, there was a positive test or a present test for E. coli, and it was a positive or present test for E. coli taken at a sample in one of the faucets in one of the men's rooms at the Granville at Greenwich apartment complex in West Greenwich. Thereafter, there were 9 tests done for E. coli. All of those tests came back negative for E. coli, that is, without the presence of E. coli. On the 26th of December, we had a conference call. We had a conversation with the RIDOH people about this situation. I explained to them that I was concerned about the fact that they were insisting that I send out a notice that said that E. coli is present, present tense, E. coli is present in the water at Center New England, when 9 test results showed that there was no E. coli there. And I said, I don't want to get people in a tizzy about this situation. Certainly if there's a real hazard, a real public health concern, we'll send out the notice. But we had 9 subsequent tests that came back negative for E. coli. To make a long story short, they said, fine, we'll think about it, we'll have a conference call. We had a conference call the next day on the 27th. We had further conversations about the fact that apparently the boil water notice was issued not because of a retest that showed the presence of E. coli, but rather because of a presumption that apparently exists in the law that where you can't gain entry to a test point, where that earlier test point was one that tested positive for E. coli or total coliform, there's a presumption in the law that it is presumed to have come back a second time with a positive E. coli test result. I said, we don't think that is the case. The only reason somebody wasn't able to get to that test point was because of a snowstorm. And can we please hold off on this until we find out whether there's really an E. coli problem there or not? One thing led to another, and ultimately, on December 29th, a Friday in the afternoon, I got a notice by email saying that I needed to send out a boil water notice. I said, fine, I'll send that out. I had the people at Peregrine Property Management poised to hit send on an email that would go out to all of the tenants and occupants at Center New England. So we had been poised to go ahead and take care of that. But I said, your notice is inaccurate. It says that E. coli is present in the water at Center New England. I said, respectfully, it's not present. We have 9 subsequent test results that show it's not present. They insisted that I had to send that out. And then there was a problem with the notice because they defined the 2 public water systems. They defined those systems in such a way, and it's their name, it's their definition, where they created the impression that there was E. coli not just in the New London Turnpike entry point system, but also in the Hopkins Hill Road entry point system, which was not the case. And I said, it is inaccurate for that reason as well. Nonetheless, they insisted that that be sent out. This is the Friday before the New Year's Day holiday weekend, late in the afternoon. We did our best to send that out. The next day, I believe that I spoke with your town manager, provided the information to him. I was not able to do it that night. I was able to do it the next day. We sent a descriptive, explanatory email about what happened the following day, and thereafter I corresponded with the town and with any other officials about this situation. The matter was fully rectified. The faucet or 2 faucets were removed. There was chlorine that was added to the system. The water there is fine. There's no reason at all to be concerned about the water. The water comes from Kent County Water Authority. It's pre-tested, pre-treated before it even gets into the 2 public water systems. And the water, once in those systems, is tested 10 times a month. And all of those test results are shared freely with the DOH. We'd be happy to share those with the town as well.
Thank you for the explanation. So I believe as we catch it on TV, it probably got magnified a little bit bigger than was the problem. People got concerned, and you know, people are concerned nowadays, and rightly so. But I think that it was rectified within the week is what you're saying.
It was rectified within a matter of days.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
at least within the week.
Yes, with everybody's cooperation,
Right.
including the people at Granville who jumped on it.
Exactly.
quickly.
And that was initially, not that, you know, it's necessarily their fault, but that occurred in West Greenwich, and it affected Center New England.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions of the individual council members regarding the discussion and explanation? If not, yes, okay.
Just one quick question. Did you ever determine the source of the one test of E. coli, or was it just a fluke, or?
No, it was in one faucet
Yeah.
in the men's room that was adjacent to the fitness center at the large Granville at Greenwich apartment complex
Okay.
that has hundreds of residents there in West Greenwich. And that faucet wasn't just sanitized, it was removed entirely. And it's been subsequently retested. And again, the water is fine. And I understand the concern. Respectfully, I think the DOH was blowing things out of proportion. But we did what we had to do. We cooperated.
do.
We did the best we could under the circumstances.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying with us tonight and making that explanation, and we appreciate it. And thank you, sir, for coming out as the backup if we needed. All right. Next, we're down to the next C section on the agenda now. I don't know, Mr. Gorham, would you like to, or at least start the explanation on this matter? And I know it's Mrs. Sarah O'Malley. You're here tonight for us. Go ahead.
Sure. This is item C on the agenda. So the town council will be sitting as the liquor licensing board. There has been an alleged violation, according to the police department, of a Class B license at the Harris Bar and Grill. And so this is a public hearing, so you should declare the public hearing open and then be willing to entertain the evidence. And then I'm sure if the applicant wants to be heard, we will take everything into consideration.
Okay, thank you. Motion to open the public hearing. Second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we're open public hearing, and is it Ms. now?
Yes, miss is fine.
Okay.
All right.
Welcome, and go right ahead. We appreciate your efforts tonight.
Yes, I'm here tonight with one of the officers from Coventry. We're going to go through some testimony as to what happened the night of January 11, 2018. However, this is about Ordinance 153-2 and 153-3. 153-2, specifically Section B, states that employees shall leave the premises of any sort of establishment that's under the control of the liquor board within 1 hour of closing, unless they give prior notice to the police department and it's for some sort of legitimate business purpose. 153-3 states that if there's any sort of disturbance, fight, or any sort of violation within that establishment, that an employee or the licensee, him or herself, must contact the police department. So if it's okay, I would like to have Officer Vishnu come up and just go through some testimony as to what occurred.
Good evening, sir. Just again for the record, your name, I know it's been stated once, but.
It's Officer Stephen Vecino.
All right, very good. Go right ahead then, how you proceed.
Can you just state where you're employed?
Coventry Police Department.
And what is your job title?
Patrolman.
And how long have you been with Coventry Police Department?
Just over 2 years now.
Okay, and were you on shift January 11, 2018?
I was.
What shift were you working?
It's A division, so it's between the hours of midnight and 8 a.m.
Okay, and was there... And were you sent on a dispatch to Harris Bar and Grill during your shift?
I was.
About what time was that?
It was 03:13 hours.
Okay, and why were you sent there?
It was a disturbance that came in.
Okay, and did you go inside the establishment?
I did.
And can you just tell us what happened when you went inside?
Initially, when we got there, we located 5 parties. They had all been arguing with one another. We had to separate all 5 parties from one another and sort of get what their stories were.
Can you tell us what the stories were?
One of the bartenders that got called into work that night, I believe her name is Christina Galloway. She had been drinking while working. I guess this wasn't the first time it happened. She caused a lot of the customers to leave, started arguments with them. So at the end of her shift, she was told that she was fired from her job.
Okay, and when the customers were in the building, did anybody tell you about what time that was?
Not specifically.
Okay, but did anybody call the police while there were customers in the building?
No.
Okay, about what time? So when you arrived, that was after it was closed and there was no customers in there, correct?
Well after, it was at 3:15 in the morning.
Do you know what time the establishment closes?
1 a.m.
Okay, so this was well after the employees were supposed to have exited the building, correct?
Yes, about 2 hours after the fact.
Okay. Did they tell you why they were there so late?
The owner's daughter, Deborah, said that she was helping with cleaning
Okay.
the establishment.
Do you know if anybody called the police department to inform Coventry that anybody would be staying past 1 hour after closing?
I don't believe so.
Okay. And do you know who it was who called the police to report the disturbance?
Yes, his name was David Hughes. He wasn't an employee. He was actually the, I believe, boyfriend of the female that was fired earlier in the night.
Okay. Do you know why he was in the building?
I guess the female that was fired wanted to go back because they owed her money for 2 separate shifts that she worked for him earlier.
All right, and did anybody appear to be intoxicated while you were present?
Everyone there was intoxicated.
All right, and you performed standard field sobriety test?
Deborah and David, yes, because they wanted to leave in their vehicles.
All right. All right, thank you.
If any member of the council has questions, I think it's,
Do we have a police report for this, like we
appropriate.
normally do? There was nothing in the packet.
I have one right here if you want a copy of it.
it can be offered. It's not essential. It's the testimony more than anything else, which I would encourage you to pay attention to and
Well, we
not the
do.
police report. Does the applicant have any objection to the, does the license holder, have any objection to the police report being offered to the town council for consideration? Is the license holder here?
Is the license holder here? I guess is a good question.
All right, you can offer the, if they're not here, then, I don't see any reason why it can't be distributed.
Okay. Is this just the one copy, sir?
I only have one copy.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think after you're done, maybe we could get copies just for our record. Regarding the matter, again, I think we got the letter, at least from the chief, that went to the, I guess, the proprietor, dated January 18th. Chief, you're here, are you not, sir? Oh, all right, I saw him earlier. Okay. As it states, it was 3:13 a.m., the matter. And again, the Coventry PD got the call and you got sent. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I read where it's a Malay. It's with 5 individuals.
Yes, sir.
And did I hear that they did get arrested or did not?
No one got arrested.
I didn't think I heard it.
No
Oh,
one got arrested.
Okay, just mass chaos, and 2 got the breathalyzer test.
We ran field sobriety tests because they wanted to drive.
Right,
So
on 2.
on 2 of them, and they both failed the test.
So
So we had to arrange rides for them to leave.
you arranged rides, okay. Now, the other 3 that were there,
One of them lives upstairs.
Oh, I see,
and then
okay.
the other 2 went with the
All
other
right.
2 who arranged the rides. So.
so basically, we have I guess, a fight within, and you got, the police department got the call, that's how the town arrived, and this is what is before us, which is, again, violation on a couple notes as far as the town's concerned. Now, the one Title III alcoholic beverages, is this a state statute that we have before us, Mr. Gorham here? It's a state statute title down at the bottom, Rhode Island General Laws?
Says it's from East Greenwich.
It is, it's state, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, and other cities and towns are
This
mentioned?
isn't ours, though.
Right, this is state.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, all right, so basically, I know we have our ordinances and violations. Chief, are you here? Colonel, if you, we have the letter you sent the proprietor. He's not here as far as I know? Okay, so we've heard and I know it's still open for any questions that the council may have, but I'm just, basically, I have a question, is this happened more than once as far as violations within this past year?
For all the businesses, when we changed the ordinances, we notified everyone.
Right.
So it would be a first strike for this business. There would be no, after that
Oh,
changeover.
from the new
we agreed everything
changes, I got
After
you.
that was a first strike. So
All
this would
right.
be a first offense for Harris.
Okay, for this particular event?
It would, sir.
All right, I'm just wondering regarding, can we even go into past occurrences, prior occurrences? I mean, not the penalties, and is it a situation that, we need to address besides this individual
I don't
melee?
think so, sir.
All
I
right.
think we could treat it as a first offense.
All right,
and,
all right, that's the question I had. I knew you were here, that's why I wanted to ask you.
I mean, for
as
us,
our-
the after-hours violation, they're just in there after hours. They need to call us if they're gonna be there.
Well, I understand all that.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
I've got a question, Mr. President.
Yes, okay, and other council people, go right ahead.
My questions are, I'm still a little unclear. That there was one girl was a bartender who they fired that night. So, and then you said that she returned. So I'm assuming that she probably left. Did they tell you what time that she actually left and then
They
returned,
said that
obviously with a boyfriend or something?
Yeah, they said they terminated her at the end of her shift, and then she came back afterwards with the boyfriend. Like I said, because she was looking for pay for 2 shifts that she worked earlier for them.
Okay, yes.
And because she was fired, she didn't know if she would get the money on a different day or.
Right, okay, so they came back and obviously it probably got a little
And
bit
then
heated. Now,
arguments started.
now the other 2 people that were there, were they friends of the bartender and the boyfriend? Is that what it was?
The other 2 people there was the owner's daughter.
Well, I
And
thought you
then-
said there were 5 people altogether.
It was. So
Okay, so one of them was the daughter, but then you said there was another couple that left, 2 that couldn't drive, and then they left with someone else,
So
so,
it was the owner's daughter, her boyfriend, one of the gentlemen that works there, he's like a maintenance employee, he lives upstairs.
oh, okay.
And then the bartender that got fired, and her boyfriend.
And they all, even though they fired her, they left in the same vehicle? Is that what I heard, or?
No.
Okay, I thought
Left in two
that I
separate
heard that the 4 people all went in the same vehicle and.
Both couples went separate ways.
Oh, okay, all right, I was gonna say, because it sounded like, the bartender who fired and her boyfriend came back looking for, definitely looking for some altercation type stuff there, so. And it's, but they didn't say what time did they say what time the end of her shift was?
12:30, they said they fired her.
12:30, they fired her, and then she left, and then obviously came back, so it was probably pretty heated for a while, I would say, and again, trying to remove the people, so. All right, great, I just wanted to try to get the facts straight in my head, thank you.
Got a couple points.
Okay, Mr. McGee?
Yeah, was there actually a fight or just an argument?
It was a verbal argument between all the parties that were there.
A verbal argument. I'm certainly glad that there was no alcohol involved as far as serving alcohol. That's been an issue we've had, lately with a few establishments, so I'm glad that's not the case. But, and there was no phone call to stay open after hours, so obviously it
Usually,
was.
Dispatch receives a phone call and they'll send out a chat saying, hey, we'll be staying open for an extra 45 minutes to help clean or help do this. And I never received a chat. I don't think anyone else did that night either, so.
All right, because for the most part, it's pretty good business over there. I was surprised, I know we have, talked to them in the past, but I'm surprised that, this happened, and hopefully it doesn't happen anymore, but, I'm glad there was, no serving alcohol. To me, it's more, more of a risk to the people, but certainly, we don't like to see that stuff happening, but thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Hi, I just have a couple questions. So this happened after 3 a.m., you said?
Yeah, it was, we got the call at 3:13 a.m.
Okay, so, and they were all intoxicated, so that means from closes at 1 to 3.
I mean, there was no signs of open containers or bottles or cans anywhere, but they were all intoxicated when we got there, so.
Okay. I just pulled my packet from last year because the same establishment came before our board on January 9th, and we did have a fine of $150 given to them. And it was because on September 18th, patrons were observed drinking after 2:07 a.m., and then again, there was a verbal warning given to that bartender, Deborah, on August 2016. Again, open containers after hours. And now, fast forward a year later, we're looking January, and we're looking at a melee, and folks, apparently, you didn't see it, but they were intoxicated after hours. So I just wanted to point that out in case everyone forgot that, they did come before us.
I do recall.
Okay.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Again, pointing it out. Any other questions of the council members?
Chief, I apologize, I meant to bring my ordinances with me and forgot. So are you saying that because we have amended the ordinances, the clock gets reset?
Well, I
And
believe
this is
that
a
was
first
the
offense?
discussions, that once we amended the ordinance, that we would just go forward with the, first, second, and third offenses after that date of changing the ordinance. And the businesses were, I believe, notified of that as well. So like I said, I would say this is a first offense for Harris. We've changed the ordinances a little bit. We updated them. They generally mirror state law, but we said, there's a clean slate for every bar in town. And we notified them, here's the new, it's really not new, but here's the playing field. And this will be first offense from here on out.
I just have a hard time with that when it's a repeat offender. And I understand what you're saying. Honestly, I just don't remember that part, so I apologize. But I'm having a hard time with justifying that because they're coming back again.
Well, I believe the ordinance
Is this the
also
third time?
talks about, after a 2 or 3 year period, they wipe out. It's 24 months, okay, so it's
You're
2
right.
years.
When we enacted the changes, we created a graduated system of penalizing so that each time someone returned within 24 months, they were subject to a greater fine. I agree with the Colonel's interpretation of the statute. I think the only fair way to apply it when you have the graduated offenses is to begin with the first offense under the ordinance being the first offense, and that you can't, under the ordinance as amended, that would be the first offense. I think it's unfair to do it any other way, because you could go as far back as you want. The
Well,
ordinance-
I
the- an
remember
ordinance
the
is-
24-month issue and the graduated
Unless-
fines, but
And the general rule of construction for all statutes in Rhode Island is that unless, and ordinances, that unless it is stated explicitly in the ordinance or statute that it's to be retroactive, it is prospective. So I think the only fair way to construe this is the way the Colonel is construing it, which is that it's going forward. So this would be their first offense under the ordinance as amended. So.
Can I make a couple points? I mean, we're not going to agree on this, obviously, but I agree with Colonel and yourself say. So I'd like to make a motion that we find this business under the first offense, and we can move on. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, second.
Okay. Well, we have to close it, or ask for any other comments.
I'll withdraw my second at this point, 'cause it'll be for-
Before we go on any further, and we've heard from our town solicitor on that, and thank you, Colonel and Officer and Mrs. Malley. Sarah. Anyone in the audience would like to comment? Yes, sir, regarding this matter.
So,
Good evening, and again, just for the record tonight, name and address.
I guess you know me pretty well. My name is Richard Reynolds. I live in 501 Village Green Circle, Coventry. Okay, my problem is this. We pay the same taxes as the rest of the people in this town. But we
Excuse
are
me.
not a
Sir.
member of this town.
Sir, excuse me, this is public hearing only for the matter that we have before us regarding Harris Bar and Grill. Public comment will come later on. General, next, okay? So if there's any unclarity, we apologize, but you'll have to hold those comments for later on. We're asking for any public comment regarding this matter before us.
When it said public comment, I thought that was the time
I'm
they
sorry,
got to
it's
talk.
public hearing regarding this matter.
That's coming.
Thank you. Okay, anyone on the public want to discuss any comments regarding this matter before us, the Harris Bar and Grill? If not, I guess then we could have a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
All right, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the public hearing portion, open meeting is closed now. And we have a motion on the floor and a second.
We have to
And-
bring that back. I withdrew my
Oh,
second.
all right.
so I have to bring it
So let's start over again. Do I have another motion or a new motion, Mr. McGee, if
Yeah.
you don't want to make it?
I would like to redo that motion and make it, has a first offense and fine accordingly, and that's it.
I'll second.
Okay, and second it. And just for clarification, Mr. Gorham, the first offense now and the new ordinance is that the 500?
it's $500.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to get it on the record. Okay, so that's what we're voting on. And again, we'll go with the Colonel's suggestion and the legal advice from our town solicitor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, discussion afterwards?
No, I just have, can we have confirmation that they get this, that they're told this is their first offense, it's 500, and then can we get confirmation that they paid the $500 fine to the town of Coventry?
Yep,
Please?
sending myself an
Yes.
email right now.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right, that concludes that matter. All right, now we go to D, which is public comment in general, and sir, it's your turn to,
Mr. Reynolds, you're on.
Mr. Reynolds, you're on. And again, general notice, we've started the new policy, it's within 3 minutes, respectful, non-confrontational, just matter of facts. And I didn't read the list, but we'll go from there, so go ahead, sir.
I'll hurry it up for you.
No, you got the 3 minutes, use
The
it.
problem, here's the problem. You know, I've already given my name, my address, and so forth.
It's fine, yep.
The problem is this: we pay the same taxes as everyone else in this town. But you know something? We don't get a single thing from you people. Nothing. No pickups, no snow plowing, no nothing.
Right.
We have to pick it up ourselves. I don't think that's very fair. I think either something should be done about it. No question. The last time I talked to you about it, you said, well, we don't own the road. You were right. You absolutely don't own the road. But now I hear rumors that the state might buy it and might take it over. So would the town be willing to sit down with us and say, listen, the road is now everybody's road? Is a good possibility that we can talk things about doing something for us. There's 85 condos there, and we pay $340,000 a year in taxes. And do you know what we get? One big zero, nothing. Most of it are senior citizens, veterans, widowers, and widowers, and everyone else in there. This is a community that does not put any stress on you whatsoever. Your schools are not bothered by us. We have no children. Our children are raised. And here we are, sitting back on the back line, and you people are just saying, okay, we'll get what we can from you. It's not fair. Just that simple.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do
Yeah.
you have any comments?
Just that probably rumor, the state
waiting.
taking over the road. And again, we have a lot of private residencies, and they're all in the same boat.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let's get off that boat.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking my comment. My name's Gary Cody. I live at 29 Patine Street in Coventry. I'm probably as close to anybody, as anybody, to Oak Haven School. And I don't have any broken windows from them putting up that new building, believe me. So I'd check that one real carefully,
will.
because I live right there, as you know. Secondly, with the school department taking that building over as a physical maintenance facility, I have to tell you how impressed the residents of that neighborhood are with the school department being there. They are respectful of the people who live in the neighborhood. They're not in and out at 5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I didn't know when they said somebody had a broken window from the drilling of that, from them digging the post holes to put that building up. I was really surprised, because living right there, I didn't know the building was going up. I didn't know the structure was going up until I saw the green cover go over the top of it. I never saw it from my house. I live next door. I never heard any drilling. I heard the machines running over there, sure. They used lull forklifts to put up the piping and stuff like that for the building, but listen, I think it was a good decision on the part of the town to put the school department over there and let them use it as a physical maintenance facility. It's nice living next door to a piece of property that's not an abandoned piece of property anymore. They're keeping it clean. They're keeping it neat. The people in the neighborhood don't have to do it. And I just wanted to compliment the council on their decision to allow the school department to do that, because I know the town had control of the building for a little while. So I just wanted to, give credit where credit was due and say thank you. They've been phenomenal neighbors since they've been there, and I'm sure it'll continue into the future. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else, general public comments? Yes. Good evening.
Kate Whittinghill, 586 Old Main Street. I read the meeting minutes. I read the minutes from the last town meeting on the 22nd, and my name was in there, and I wanted to just mention one thing. My understanding, and I believe after talking to Graham that I could have been wrong, was that when he appointed me the opportunity to volunteer for the CAC committee, that if residents had concerns and they voiced them to me, that I could pass them on, okay, as a volunteer. But now I am of the understanding that if I'm doing that and I mention that I'm this volunteer, that it doesn't necessarily speak for the members of the committee. And that I understand. One thing I would like to ask is this. If the volunteers of the CAC are given tasks to do by the council, by the manager, where do those tasks originate from? And I would think that they would originate from the concerned citizens and taxpayers. So if I have done something I wasn't supposed to do and represent a committee that I wasn't supposed to represent, I apologize. But I would continue then as a private citizen to bring any concerns that I hear necessary to the well-being of the town. Just wanted to say
Thank you.
that. Thanks.
Very good. Anyone else? Anyone else? Yes, sir. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. President. Leo Raptakis, 2080 Nooseneck Hill Road. I'm here tonight regarding the Lake Tioga issue with the flood zone from FEMA. Last week you received a letter. It was CC'd to everyone here, and also the, I believe, town manager, requesting additional information from the town regarding the flood zone in Lake Tioga. As you know, about a year and a half ago, we resolved the issue with Johnson's Pond, saving many of the residents hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars, in flood insurance to the to FEMA. Last December 18th, when we had the joint meeting with the General Assembly, I brought that issue up, and you did receive the letter from West Warwick. You wrote back on January 24th to Congressman Langevin, and his response was that on January 26th, you were supposed to identify some other issues regarding the engineering. Just want to make sure that this is going to be addressed as soon as possible. There is a lot of residents in the Lake Tioga area that are paying a lot of money for flood insurance. I believe one of my constituents, Ron Gizzarelli, has always been calling me on the issue. But again, if you can possibly try to answer Congressman Langevin's concern. What happened is, I guess a few letters went back and forth, and that was not answered. I guess the town has not yet identified any updating engineering data to provide to FEMA. So I'm not sure what the timetable is. Time is of essence. We don't want to put this aside because there are a lot of elderly people that do live on the Lake Tioga area. I know it's your district, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
And if you do want a copy of the letter, I have one here for you.
We have it.
Oh, you have it?
Is
Okay,
that-
great.
We sent it out to all of you folks, and we have it, and the town manager has it, and, you know, they'll take it for where they can, you know, have it looked into further economically, whether the town's going to be able to come up with a new response to FEMA. You know, that's remains to be seen.
Right, it's only you need to provide, I think, updated engineering data like you did in Johnson's Pond. I mean, we resolved that issue for the whole
Right,
pond. It was-
a different situation, but you're right. It was, they found, FEMA admitted they found an error. FEMA admitted they did not find any error. And I don't want to go into it now, but I appreciate your public comment. And I certainly,
Can you let
it's
us
close
know,
to home also, because I've lived in District 4 for 39 years now.
And
So
I lived
thank
in-
you for
I
your
lived in the town of
comments.
Coventry for 55
Appreciate it
years. So
greatly.
If you can give us an update,
Well,
maybe 30 days, Mr. President, let us
If
know.
the town has one, we'll make it known, district report.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very
Okay,
much.
And also Representative Serpa is also waiting a response too. Thank you.
If there's a new response, we'll send out the word. If not, no news, it's the same news. But thank you for your comment. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Down the middle aisle? Good evening.
Good evening. Lisa Castelli, 15 Chopin Street, Coventry, obviously. I just have a question. I wanted to know why Crosswaters Engineering keeps going up Fairview Avenue. Does that have something to do with the sewers? Crossman, I'm sorry.
I can't answer that, but, you know, we can look into it.
Because they were there when we started the whole sewer. And
I can tell you, Crossman Engineering has more than just Coventry as a client, and Fairview is a state-owned street, so they might be doing work for the state. But that
Okay.
might be a better question for Crossman Engineering.
Possible.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, any other comments? Yes, sir. Good evening.
Hi, Kevin Snow, 36 Edward Street.
Yes.
Last week, I believe, or the week before, there was a meeting at the State House where our local legislatures brought forward some resolutions to the state legislature regarding the mandating of sewers. Mr. Gorham stated during that meeting that all of these people were there strictly because of one person on Hazard Street who did not want the sewers. That one person on Hazard Street, we all know who he is. Unless you have a twin, Mr. Gorham, then it would appear that yourself, like Councilman McGee, Shibley, and LeBassiniere, have continued to ignore our pleas since the meeting at the high school and every town council meeting since then. Refused to answer our questions, as well as, which was on full display tonight, demeaning Councilwomen McGee and Bacon. That one resident on Hazard Street seems to have you gentlemen a little bit nervous, judging by how Mr. Shibley, I saw the video of the town hall meeting. I wasn't able to make it. I was working. When that one resident was allowed to ask questions with no time limit. You seem very uncomfortable answering any questions. Mr. LeBassiniere, you, to your credit, it was answered any question that was presented. And you mentioned also, Mr. Shibley, at the meeting, at the town hall meeting, that when asked where the people were who supposedly were in favor of the sewers, you said you didn't know, maybe they were intimidated by the people who want the sewer, who don't want the sewers. Maybe
Can I
that's kind of,
interrupt? Are
Sure.
you talking about the Saturday
The Saturday
conversation
town
we
hall
had?
meeting,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Yep.
Just to put it in perspective,
Yep.
it's.
I'm sorry,
not
I
really-
thought
That's
that-
all right, not a town hall meeting, but that's okay. I understand
I didn't
what
know
you're
what to
saying.
call it, the town
No,
hall.
that's fine.
Okay.
I appreciate your comments.
Okay. Oh, I'm not done.
Well, not yet.
No, not yet. Well, I still got my time.
All right.
So that's kind of how we feel, like we're being bullied by you gentlemen who are trying to shove this mandate down our throats. I think if you seem to pick out the less favorable income areas, such as Lake Tioga, which I grew up right on Lake Tioga. I've lived here my entire life, 51 years. But there's never any mention about Johnson's Pond, which, if I'm correct, is the largest body of water in the town. But because they have the money, like the Janikes and whatnot, it's like you don't want to piss them off. Kind of like a bully, you want to pick on the weakest and not the strongest. So I challenge you, Mr. Shibley, to have another meeting at the high school, to take a roll call. I can take a roll call now if you want, of people who are in favor or who are against it. If you have the guts, have another meeting at the high school and listen to us, because you haven't listened to us the entire time. That's all.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay. Yes, come on forward. Hey. Good evening.
James LeBlanc, 43 Hazard Street. I just wanted to ask, at the last town council meeting, a bunch of roads for Arnold Road, Briar Point Ave, Sand Street, and Hazard Street.
If I could have attention while the speaker is speaking, we are having a hard time hearing ourselves. Thank you.
Sorry, the last
That's
town
all right.
council meeting, 4 roads were deemed substantially complete. That would be Arnold Road, Briar Point Ave, Sand Street, and Hazard Street. I just wanted to know if a supplemental document was sent to all those residents, letting them know that they have the opportunity to choose whether or not they want those sewers, and also if they were made aware of all of the costs associated to the sewer project, because as you all know, the first notice that went out only talked about one cost, and that was just the tie-in, which is about 1/10 of the total cost. So I didn't know if that notice had gone out. I don't know if you guys could make a comment on it.
Just a moratorium, nothing's going out right now.
But people are making decisions to tie in. I believe that they have the opportunity to, correct? I just want to make sure that they're properly notified and have the knowledge.
Okay, Mr. Waters?
I'm not sure if a supplemental document was sent to each resident on those streets. It was just the intent. I can look into that.
I just think that they should have the knowledge of the fact that they have the
we
choice
we've
and
had,
the costs.
We've had residents, and it was not just those streets, but any street that has sewers. On the upcoming sewer subcommittee agenda, there's 2 residents that will be coming before the subcommittee about tie-ins that aren't on those streets.
But they don't have the significant assessments like the people on those 4 streets, correct?
Well, as far as the letter to the particular streets, I'd have to look into that to see if something was sent out. I don't believe so. And as far as the assessment costs, when they call in to request a tie-in, they're made aware of the costs at that point in time.
They are made aware of it?
Yes.
Not just the tie-in, but the assessment, the
correct.
loan, and all that good
Yep.
stuff? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. And then since you guys are discussing the resolution on the sewer subcommittee, I just wanted to, I did reference it at our informal town hall meeting this weekend, but I do think an attorney should be present at the sewer subcommittee because many decisions were made from 2011 to 2017 where they never came in front of the town council. So instead of acting as an advisory board, they were actually making decisions when they weren't supposed to. And I just want to make sure that all residential, whether they're single-family or multi-unit, if they're rental, or if they're corporate tie-ins, that they're all discussed at the sewer subcommittee meetings, and perhaps even mention the assessment that they'll get if the tie-in is approved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Public comment? Yes. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Janice Stenson. I reside at 670 Naughty Oak Road, Coventry. So just, sorry,
I think it's on. Yeah.
just to clarify regarding correcting the prior resident that spoke and called the meeting over the weekend, the town hall meeting, President Shibley.
I was just asking what he was referring to. I don't know what you're saying.
So when you were correcting him, telling him that it was not a town hall, and just clarifying, that is what was described. Mr. LeBassiniere was very gracious to hold those over the last several meetings, several months, and he did specifically say it was a town hall meeting. So the resident stating that was
Fine.
correct.
Okay. Very good.
So we don't need to.
All right, thank you.
I'm not done.
Okay.
So at the last town council meeting, a resolution was passed at the end. It was voted on by 3 councilmen. The 2 councilwomen did not vote, did not get a chance to vote. It was passed. That did have to do with, I just want to clarify, I'm asking to make sure, that did have to do with the construction on Arnold Road, correct? With the sewers and construction? You're not going to answer.
I didn't understand your question. The last
The
resolution
that
that
you passed at
passed,
the
it
end of
passed.
the town council
Right.
meeting.
Right.
Okay. So that was actually, there was much discussion on it being 2 separate issues that really should have been separated, but it was all in one vote. You did
Legal
one
counsel
vote.
said it would be all one vote, yes.
Okay. And that did have to do with the construction on Arnold Road, and that you were clarifying that that was substantially complete, part of that resolution, correct?
That's correct.
Yes, okay. So that includes the road work, which includes Deambra construction, correct? So this way, they can get paid, right? Is that not
No.
part of the process?
That's
No,
incorrect.
No?
that's incorrect.
Okay. So when you declare it substantially complete, what are
Sewer
you
line.
doing in that?
So when the resolution was discussed, it's when a road is declared substantially complete, it means that the sewer has been inspected and deemed certified to have sewage put through it. So it is ready to go. No further sewer line construction is needed. So
Okay.
they've finished construction. As in Hazard Street, there's still paving that needs to be done, but the sewer line itself is substantially complete.
Okay, but specifically having to do with Arnold Road, so in order to pay any of those contractors, those contracts, that has to be declared prior to that. So it does have an effect, correct? You're
The
not gonna pay
practice
them.
of town staff in the past has been when a line is declared substantially complete, that is the staff's cue to send out assessments to the homeowners. So that is not being done in this instance. In this instance, the only thing that's being done is residents who live along those lines who would like to tie in can come forward and request to be tied in. So that's the only thing that is permitted as of right now. And I'm ensuring that no assessments other than for residents who want to tie in go out along those lines.
On Arnold Road as well?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, that's it, thank you. That's the 3-minute, was it, Mr. Gall? Yes. Yes. All right, thanks.
Are you
Anyone else? That's it.
My phone says it's not 3 minutes, but.
All right, well, ours does so. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? Public comment? Okay. All right, thank you very much. Next on the agenda, we have E. E1, applications for renewal for campground licenses. Mr. Waters?
Before we get into that, Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to request when we get down to the letter F, that the presentation and resolution authorizing the town to join the opioid litigation be bumped up to number
Okay.
1.
Okay.
Just because
I
we
think
have
yes.
them waiting.
We do that right now?
For what? I don't think, you mean right now? No. In head of the campground?
Yeah.
That's all right, okay. If that's okay with the council. The request has been made for F3 on the presentation with the legal counsel here.
I think we brought the campgrounds here, that's about the 4th time.
Well, I-
We just like to get them out, get
All
them
right.
done.
I think we can. Campgrounds, we could probably address. It's probably been addressed a few times, and then that'll be next. All right, let's get, the campgrounds have been on several months now.
And then we can move to the top of number 1.
Right, it'll be top of number 1 on F, I'm sorry. All right, so let's go back to applications for renewal of campground licenses. Number 1, and I suppose we take these one at a time as
Absolutely.
recommended?
I would recommend it.
Okay. All right, so, Water's Edge,
Well, at this point, you need a motion and a second, and then discussion?
do we go public hearing
No, I
again?
don't
on
think we
this?
need
No,
public.
we already have, right?
We don't need public comment or public hearing on
Right.
this?
Okay.
No, we've
A
already-
motion to approve Water's Edge 1A at
Motion-
this time.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Could we wait a second before we vote? I didn't get
I-
a chance to say if I had any discussion.
Oh, well, all right, I
That's-
asked, I didn't hear
that's what
anything.
he was asking.
Okay, that's, any discussion?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
That's it.
I just want to say that I'm very happy that it went into the minutes of last week's, or the last meeting, that I asked if Mr. Anderson was threatening us with litigation if we denied the license for Water's Edge, that he would sue us, and he did say absolutely. So to me, that's extortion and blackmail. Not unusual in this instance. I have to say, again, the only reason we do, for those of you who don't know this, the only reason we do have year-round camping is because the president of a town council in the past actually owned one of the campgrounds. Now, let me say, that campground, to me, is well-kept, and it's doing,
Excuse
and it's
me.
it's a nice
Councilwoman
campground.
talking.
I have no problems with it. We're talking about Water's Edge. I asked the minimum housing inspector go out there. I don't know what he was looking at, because I don't think he had a checklist. But honestly, I would hate to be a neighbor to Water's Edge. And in my opinion, it's brought down the housing values, the property values of the homes around it. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't think they need a year-round camping license.
Okay, any other comments before we vote? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, 3 in favor, 2 opposed. Next, 1B,
You find this
Orojo
amusing?
Campground.
Camp Yoho.
Oh, Yoho.
Motion to approve the license.
Motion to approve, second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, 3-2. Next, 1C, Hickory Ridge Campground.
Motion to approve license, Mr. President.
Okay, motion made, second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 5-0. Okay, thank you. Now we're down to F, and motion has been made if we could, or at least
Do
the
we need a-
request,
do we
I don't
need-
think we need a
we
motion,
We
right?
don't need a motion, we just take.
We just
number 3.
move.
Move it up?
All right.
Okay.
We'll move F3. 3 is now being discussed. Mr. Gorham, would you like to do the introduction on this?
I think it would be appropriate to call Attorney Eva Mancuso and her, I guess her entourage up to talk about the proposal that they've made to the town that's on the agenda for approval for tonight.
Okay, very good. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Gorham, members of the council. As you know from our meeting and executive session, my name is Eva Marie Mancuso. and with me tonight is our National League Counsel, Archie Lamb. Last time Mr. Magazine was here, and
Right.
we're not doing a bait and switch on you, it's just that these gentlemen are all over the country, so
Right.
it's who is available to come in today. So
Well,
Mr.
wel-
Lamb is our National League Counsel.
Welcome.
I'd like to, we began the presentation last time to talk to you about what we're doing nationally. I want to tell you that we're updated today. As of this morning, we had 20 cities and towns joined
Can you pull
in.
the mic up, Ms. Mancuso, just so they can hear you? Thank you.
Sure. I think you're the only person that's ever asked me to speak
I'm
up.
this is for everybody. I hear you, but everybody in behind you can't hear you.
I was going to say, I probably have school teachers that are watching this right now saying that that's the first time that ever happened, Councilman. So basically, we're now up to 20 cities and towns in Rhode Island that have joined on to join us in the fight against the distributors and manufacturers of the opiate litigation. I'd like to defer to Mr. Lamb to go into the details of the lawsuit so that you can, and feel free to ask us both any questions when we finish. Thank you.
So I think you have all been subjected already to the presentation in general. If I might just bring you up to speed on where we are currently outside the state of Rhode Island. Our coalition that Eva is an important part of nationally consists of 6 law firms besides Eva's law firm. We represent over 250 cities, towns, and counties in about 30 different states. Personally, I've gone to about 100 of these meetings with city councilmen and women and county commissions, and I just have to say God bless you as you endeavor with all the things that you've got to deal with. It's really been an experience for me to see what you deal with on a day-to-day basis. But one thing that's been universal as I've traveled the country is the tragedy that is the opioid crisis. I know it's here. Statistics show that. It's a lot of other places. We would be privileged to represent you. Our firms collectively will advance all the expenses necessary to prosecute the case. That includes hiring expert witnesses. I don't know how many of you saw the 60 Minutes piece about 2 months ago. 2 of the DEA experts that were witnesses in that piece are retained experts for us. The cases, we have, our group has cases in about 20 different states filed in federal court, as these cases would be. They've all been consolidated in Cleveland, Ohio, in front of Judge Dan Polster, and he has said from the bench, people are dying every day. Let's go about the business of trying to get this thing resolved. We're working hard to do that. You saw, I think, Purdue Pharma has stopped marketing to doctors, which you think is a little bit late, but it's a step in the right direction. The only purpose of our litigation, to be clear, is to hold what we believe to be the manufacturers and distributors responsible for the excessive shipment, the flooding, if you will, of our communities of these drugs, far beyond that which is necessary. And by the way, there are people in our society that need these drugs, people at the end of life, people that suffer from serious arthritic disease on a day-to-day basis. We're not saying the drugs need to be eliminated. We're saying there needs to be a method of distribution that makes medical and scientific sense. Just so you know, the key defendants in our case are the 3 large distributors, which is interesting because very few people really know. They know the manufacturers make the drugs. What they have a hard time understanding is what the distributors do. Well, what the distributors do is they deliver the drugs. The evidence that we have come up with in the lawsuits that originated in West Virginia are they deliver drugs to a town of 432 people, 11 million prescriptions. We say that that is inappropriate. We say it's a violation of their federal duty under the Controlled Substances Act. And our sole objective here is to raise enough money to bring back to the cities, towns, and counties of this country, to your coffers, because you will have an individual claim, and help you address the community plague of addicted citizens that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and for which you really don't have adequate monies to take care of. And so that means treatment over the next 10 years of the persons that are addicted in your community, and that's what we're fighting for you, to generate a monetary amount to assist you to deal with that. And that's what the lawsuit's about.
The only thing that that I want to add on behalf of the statistics that I've looked at. The CDC puts together lots of statistics, and one that jumped off the page at me was that in 2016, in Kent County, 71 prescriptions for every 100 people. Think about that. For every 100 people, there were 71 prescriptions. And that's just in 2016. Providence County was at 58%, and Washington County, 63%. So the prescriptions are rampant. And as my counsel said, and I think he said it quite eloquently, is that the opioids have a place in our society, but the three big distributors had one job, and that was to be the gatekeeper. Their job was supposed to sound the bells and alarms when manufacturers were going in and targeting areas that had an uptake in numbers, and instead they used it for their own benefit. So that's the evidence that we've uncovered, and to this date, as Archie pointed out, he is one of our national lead counsel, so he's been there with the judge. I want Coventry to be involved in this case, as I want every city and town to be, because I want to hold them responsible and make them have to pay for the cleanup. You cause a problem, you clean it up. It's very simple. And that's what we're looking at. So if you have any questions, we're glad to answer them. I know we spoke extensively in executive session, but I'm glad to answer any other questions.
Mr. McGee's leading off
Yeah,
with the
Ms.
question.
Mancuso, if you could, just state so that people can hear the three pools that what this money's going to. I mean, some people are wondering why, they think there's not an opiate epidemic in Coventry. There is. Every town has it.
Right.
Maybe I'm sheltered. I never realized there was that much of an epidemic in town. But can you just explain, as you explained to us in the executive,
Sure.
how the money is going to be dispersed, that it's not just to pay back whatever we have spent?
Right.
Thank you.
And the real big part, so one part of, we have different buckets of damages, obviously, that Mr. Lamb and our team is fighting for. And the first one is for the costs in the past, which is the law enforcement course and the cost of Narcan and the training and all of that. The second bucket is talking about treatment, and when I say treatment, I mean regional treatment and real treatment. The big thing that we're learning from the experts here is that, opiates stay in your system sometimes 6 to 8 months. When people are addicted, we send them to 30-day treatment programs and then say that they're not successful when they relapse. So we're talking about real treatment. Archie is leaving here tomorrow morning and going to Washington, D.C. to meet with a group of doctors who will be our experts to put together treatment plans, real treatment plans that can address the problem. So that's the second one. And the third one, which I think is the most important, is the education piece. We need to have, if you think about what we've done in education around alcohol and information and allowing and saying to kids, listen, this is dangerous. We have to train an entire generation of children and young people and millennials that the drugs that are in mom and dad's cupboard are just as dangerous as the heroin that's on the street. So that education piece takes a lot of money. And as if you talk to any of your police officers, they'll say, yeah, we do it as part of our training, or we go into the schools, or the teachers try to do it as part of health. I'm talking about a real major force going forward. So that, to a town like Coventry that doesn't have a plague like some of the other cities and towns do, that's the bucket that I think can be most helpful to you. But the most important part of this lawsuit is that it's a multi-district litigation suit, which means it will be the town of Coventry versus Big Pharma. It'll be the town of Coventry versus the manufacturers, so that in the end, the damages comes back to you as the leaders of the town to say, yeah, this is what we want to do here. So that's the three buckets.
Thank you very much for explaining that. I just want, my opinion, it's a win-win situation for the town. I mean, I don't know what we can get out of this. I mean, I hate to not sign on and end up that there could have been a potential to have a lot of money to. I'm more concerned with treatment centers if there's that much of an epidemic. But I think it's a great idea. It's going to come to no cost to the taxpayers at all.
Right.
So I mean, that's a big thing too to let everybody know.
Yeah, that's and we're upfronting all the costs for the litigation, which are substantial. I mean, there's no one law firm that could do this on their own, respectfully. I mean, just like taking on tobacco, just like taking on in California the lead paint, you know, you're talking about millions of dollars in expert witness fees to put this case together. That's the consortiums joining together to do that, and it will never be taxpayer money, and it'll just be money back. So whatever we're able to get for the town of Coventry, all we're saying is, listen, you caused the problem, you need to pay for the cleanup.
I just want to thank you for coming and giving us this
Oh, you're welcome.
presentation.
You're welcome.
Yes, Mr. Gorham.
Just to clarify, since I know we talked about this in closed session, Attorney Mancuso, but the public's here tonight, the meeting's it's being streamed and so forth. So I have a question. It's no cost to the town, and you indicated that the costs will be advanced by the law firms who are
Correct.
taking up the cause, and there's a contingent fee agreement of 30%.
That's correct.
And you're asking the town council to authorize that.
That's correct.
Which means that 30% of the amounts recovered will be paid to the attorneys and divided among them as they see fit. And the expenses, I just want to talk about for 1 second.
Sure.
The expenses that you advance, even if you are unsuccessful, you're not going to seek to recover the expenses that you advance to pursue this lawsuit. You're not going to seek to recover those expenses from the town of Coventry.
That's correct. And in the agreement, as you know, Mr. Gorham, I put that in big bold letters because
You did.
it's very important that people understand that. And that is customary in personal injury work, that we advance, we take the risk. I mean, we've put together the lawsuits and we're putting this together as part of the monies to advance public health. That's what we do.
So when Councilmember McGee says that there's really no risk to the town, then he's correct. Because,
Correct.
Okay.
Just like the other 20 cities and towns that have signed on, and I've been on TV in their local kitchens when people are watching the town council, saying the exact same thing over and over again. And as you know, Mr. Gorham, I am Rhode Island born and Rhode Island bred, and when I die, I'll be Rhode Island dead. That's the URI fight song.
I never said that.
But as you know, I'm here, and I think that that's the benefit that you get is that as local counsel, my duty, not only ethically as an attorney, but also when I first heard about this, I said, this is something Rhode Island should sign on to. We have an epidemic, and this is an opportunity to bring in the funds to do it correctly.
Well, thank you for your
thank you.
foresight. Thank you.
I have one question. You mentioned up to 20 on cities and towns. Would you have that updated list for us? Or is that just being put together?
Sure, no, I have the list if you
do.
want me to read it.
I didn't know if you had it to disseminate.
Sure, I'm glad to read it because they're making town.
Well, okay, if you don't mind, if you had a list, I just collected, but I was kind of curious because
I have a cheat
I
sheet
know it was
right in
like
front of me.
14, and then
I have a cheat sheet in front of me. I can tell you Barrington, Bristol, Burrillville, Central Falls. Charlestown is meeting tonight, as Coventry is. We have Cumberland, East Providence, Gloucester. Hopkinton is meeting tomorrow. Jamestown on the 19th. I have Johnston. Middletown, I have a phone conference with tomorrow. Narragansett. North Kingstown, North Providence, Pawtucket, Richmond, Situate. I believe Situate voted on February 8th. I do not have that in hand yet. That's my note here. Smithfield, Warwick, Westerly, West Greenwich, and West Warwick. That's where we are so far.
so just on the major cities, we're just missing maybe Cranston and Providence.
Cranston and Providence.
Okay.
Cranston, I'm
Well,
in
Warwick's
constant conversation
Okay.
with. Warwick's on board, yes.
All right. Well, it sounds good.
Yep.
20 is more than half the state.
Yep.
With my math.
Actually, we're on 61% of the, I really had nothing to do this afternoon, so I was doing percentages.
I like stats.
I know you do.
I do.
That's why I did it. That's why I did it, you know?
Okay. Well, I appreciate
I have a
the information.
little experience with former police officers.
Yeah, well, you've got good what else say, family traits.
Yeah, that's right.
And,
So we're about 61% of the population of Rhode Island right now that's covered in those 20 cities and towns.
Well, thank you very much for that answer. Mrs. Carlson.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming back again and doing this because I think the people needed to understand what's going on.
Sure.
My only comment for the council and actually for town manager, Mr. Gorham, is that if we vote, or when we vote, if we sign on to this, I want to be sure that any recovery funds that we do get are absolutely designated in a separate fund for this issue and not sucked into the general fund and not used to pay anything else off. I think it's very important that if we've gone through this.
Yep. I think Mr. Lamb can address that.
Thank you.
Yeah, one of the, just so you know, I was in Rhode Island about 20 years ago and ended up representing the Rhode Island medical community in a case where we represented 28 state medical associations. And at the end of that case, monies were generated, and there were some parameters tied to how the monies were dispersed according to the allegations in the complaint and the misconduct that the defendants were held accountable for. And we will have the same sort of, at the end of the case, fortunately, or hopefully, we'll be looking at monies to be distributed based on certain metrics of injury. How many addicts are here? How many of those you extrapolate through this formula? How many will survive? How many will relapse? How many may die? And so there are metrics that are put together on what the damages will be for that treatment plan. And the monies will be tied to uses under that scope because, remember, we have to ultimately be approved by this federal judge in Cleveland, and he or she is going to be extremely interested in and demand that there's close parameters for the disbursement of the monies.
So that's it. I know you do have the damages through a metric system is in the resolution.
Yes, ma'am.
The other question I had was, do we need to hear from the chief at all regarding this?
I know he's in favor of it,
Yeah.
so.
I mean, he might want to say something. Thank you.
So I sat through the first briefing for the town manager when she talked, and they came and briefed, and it's the worst scourge I've seen in 23 years in Coventry. I'd say we have multiple overdoses every week. A lot of people survive because of Narcan, but the expenses are there. You see in the email I sent the outreach we've been doing with our video online, Facebook Live. We're going to be tomorrow night on NBC 10 doing a feature on with Coventry Police and Fire on this issue in town. And so we're no different than any town that's suffering through this. And particularly recently the 8-month-old baby that passed away, which we believe was caused by exposure to fentanyl. 3 of our officers have had exposure to fentanyl, been taken to the hospital. So it has definitely changed our protocols. We stopped in place. We don't test anything we think has fentanyl in it. And it's really a hazmat situation every time we think we're dealing with fentanyl. So it's definitely changed the way we're dealing with everyday policing. So I'm in favor of it.
Thank you, Colonel. Mr. Colonel, do you have
I just had one, I'm pretty sure I understood that from Attorney Lamb and Attorney Mancuso. The idea is that if the case is settled, it will be in the form of a consent judgment that'll be managed by the court. Is that correct?
Well, first of all, the benefit is that you'll be way involved right at the outset, so that with the colonel talking about, how we fill those buckets, you'll have involvement in the beginning. So it's not just that, it's not a top-down situation where you'll read about it and then all of a sudden have to fill it in. So yes, what we anticipate is that there's going to be parameters around certain amounts of money, but they will be dictated by what you have told us and we have seen through our experts in Coventry meet the needs of the people here. So.
But is the court going to supervise the distribution through?
Not usually, but
you're
go
not,
ahead. No.
No, the court won't supervise, but it will approve. In other words, we will do all the work in terms of putting it together, outlining and having witnesses testify about why this is both scientifically, medically, and otherwise dependable. So the judge will make that approval. But here's what's important is that these big 3 that distributed, they made $493 billion delivering drugs last year. They are not going to roll over. One of the reasons that it's important for you to have counsel like our group that has actually tried these cases in court, they may not settle.
Right.
We may have to go to court. We may have to spend on a sample trial $3 million to put on a case on behalf of the state of Ohio, for example. Because last year, the state of West Virginia, 1.8 million people, They estimate $8.8 billion. Last year, it cost that community. This is not a case where we're going to bring back to you $500,000 to deal with this problem. These companies are big. They have the best law firms in the world. We are committed to spending the money it takes to hold them accountable, to deal with tens and hundreds of billions of dollars of mess that's got to be cleaned up. And if they don't pay, something that we could be proud to come back and provide to you, we will go to trial with them.
I understand that you're going to be prepared to go to trial. What I'm more interested in, just out of curiosity, but to some degree, how the money's going to be supervised, is if it is settled, will there nonetheless be, you said it has to be approved by the court. I mean, typically a court doesn't approve something unless it's involved, and the typical way it's involved is through a consent judgment.
There will be a consent judgment.
All right.
So there's a consent judgment on the amount. There's a consent judgment on the metrics. But ultimately, I think I hope I'm answering your question. There will be a special master designated to deal with how the monies are split up amongst the cities, towns, and counties who are claimants.
Okay.
Okay. And so there will be below the judge, a master set of people trained to make sure the disbursements are done accurately and according to your pro rata share of the monies generated.
Okay.
We did it in Rhode Island in the station fire litigation case.
I'm familiar with that, and
so
I think it was William Poor who
Bill
did
Poor,
the,
exactly.
Right.
He
okay.
was and
so it's going to be the same method.
That's the same. It's on a very small, the same methodology
okay.
is applied. So we've done it in Rhode Island. I actually was one of the 7 law firms, as you know, that we joined the coalition together here locally to handle that case. So I was involved in it, and it's a very detailed, intricate part. There's no here's a couple of $1 billion thrown into the general fund. That's just not the way it works. So
okay, that makes sense. I just that was the one thing I was curious about, and you've answered the question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, another question?
Just
Go
a
ahead.
quick question.
Yes.
Our fire departments are not part of the
Right.
municipality. Have you reached out to Hopkins Hill, Central, Western, and Anthony?
I have not as of yet, because the way we are handling them at this point is that as a third-party beneficiary to the town itself of which they're in, they have asked for a presentation, and we will do it. It's just that I'm kind of an endless energy person, but it's been busy.
I know.
All your town councils like to meet on Mondays and Tuesdays, by the way. But yes, obviously that's going to be part of it as well,
Okay.
because we'll have to do it. But it's going to be a very controlled, calculated part, and it is the town of Coventry that is, houses and has, you have the people that they serve. So that's how we're looking at it.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Let's see, any other questions of the council members? If not, Mr. Lamb and Ms. Mancuso, thank you for coming out tonight. Appreciate it. And again, good luck. It's our nation's betting on you.
Thank you.
And all the people that need the help, and the future people we don't want to need the help, with education, and that's for sure. So, Mr. Gorham, I guess they're free to leave, and then we just read over this resolution. Would that be recommended? And then we're free to pass tonight if we wanted to, right? All right. Again, shall it be read, or just we have it all in front of us? I don't think, unless anyone has any specific comments or changes the way it reads. Mr. McGee?
No, I don't think it needs to be read. We all see
All
it
right.
and read it. I would like to make the motion that we move on this.
Okay.
And
All right, no. Motion made, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 5-0. Thank you. Good luck. Nice meeting you. Okay, all right. We have a couple more items on the agenda tonight. I guess F1, if we go back to the top. Mr. Waters, or who we've had this before us, and Mr. Waters, you want to?
Sure. So on the agenda for
Get us
tonight
into it.
is a resolution to reform the Town of Coventry Sewer Subcommittee. This was discussed at the last town council meeting. Councilman Bacon proposed some changes, which were distributed to the town council electronically, and I believe it looks like a few of you have them, hard copies as well. I have extra hard copies if you need them. And I believe where we left off was the council was going to read through Councilman Bacon's recommendations. I had not received any other recommendations from any other town council members, but that does not mean that it can't be modified on the floor. And
Yeah, I have.
Mr.
I
Gorham,
haven't,
if you want to add anything.
received it, so,
Could I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Normally, the way it would be done is I was asked to draw a resolution, which I submitted. And then Council Member Bacon proposed changes to that based on what I submitted. And it's very orderly and easy to follow. Thank you, Councilmember Bacon, with the redlining and so forth. And I mean, what would typically happen with a legislative body is you'd put the main motion in, the main resolution, and then Councilmember Bacon would be allowed to offer her amendment to that, and you would vote separately on the amendment. If the amendment carries, then you vote on the resolution as amended. If the resolution does not carry, then you vote on the resolution without the amendment as it was originally submitted. If that's acceptable to the members of the council, that would be the way that I would recommend it. That way everybody gets a fair shake at what they want.
So it should be a motion, for instance, as initially presented? Okay.
You would just move the resolution, it's the same resolution that was before you last time.
Okay. All right, so, okay, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution as presented last time.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Discussion regarding the resolution that we've had before us now for a couple of months. And specifically, we've had it for since the last town council meeting, which was 3 weeks ago, January 22nd. Now, I was prepared then, as I am tonight, to pass it as is. It's something that we want to clarify, and this does, ratify, and, you know, and then everything else, make it permanent. I know the town manager, you're comfortable with what came before us two months ago. Mr. Gorham, you're the town solicitor. And I asked you last week, which was 3 weeks ago, last meeting, does it do what we need to be done to ratify, to clarify, and to verify? And the answer, I think, was yes, yes, yes. Now, personally, I think I asked, had there been any information sent? And this was last Tuesday, and the answer was no, up to Tuesday. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anything, email or otherwise, came to us until Friday morning, the 9th. That's the email I read. All right, packages went out and done, and we certainly, plenty of time to make comments if anybody chose to, versus tonight, reading these one by one and saying yay or nay. You know, I think, personally, I think we could pass it tonight the way it is, the way it has been the last 2 months, the way it should be, and then down the line, whenever the audit comes back, whatever they recommend to change, to alter, it can be changed down the line. By us, with one person's, I suppose, input, to change it all tonight before, what this does the job, at least temporarily, while the audit's going on, while the moratorium is held, and then what can be changed later, what is recommended to be changed later, financially, bodies, people, personnel, numbers, that can be done, I think, after to me, common sense would find out what the experts are recommending. before we start picking and choosing and going one to one. That's my personal opinion. Now, I don't know how the majority or the other council people want to address this, but I had to say that, because the way we had it 2 months ago, with the one minor change, I was okay with. Even last month, I was definitely okay with. 3 weeks ago, we tabled it to pass it tonight. If the other members are comfortable with going line by line, I'll go along for the process. I don't know if anybody else has any comments outside of Councilwoman Bacon, who's put this together as of Friday morning. And I apologize, very busy with the family up from Virginia. I don't go on my emails hourly or daily, for that matter. And nor did I decide to review this, make changes, make comments, or anything else. So I don't think tonight is the night to do it personally. I think we should pass what has been overdue, and then down the line, when we get some expert opinions, some expert, studies, some recommendations, I think that would be the time to maybe, fine tune it to however we want to change it beyond what needs to be done, and this needs to be done. Anyone else want to comment, or do we? Are you comfortable with? Well, I understand, but anyone other than the one that makes the changes on February 9th. Okay, Mrs. Bacon, I guess, or Mrs. Carlson.
Well, I've reviewed Mrs. Bacon's proposed amendments to the resolution. I personally think that the sewer subcommittee doesn't work right now the way it should. I think we should, as I've said at other meetings, disband and reorganize it. My feeling is, yes, if we have to leave 2 council members on the sewer subcommittee, they should be non-voting. I think we need an attorney. We need financial advisory at the meetings. I don't think it's a committee that's been really closely followed over the years, and that's why we have part of the issues we have now. We don't generally get a whole lot of reports from them, if ever. In the 5 years I've been on the council, I don't remember ever having, well, no, I take that back. Glenn Skirka has been here when we've had to vote on changes to the sewer ordinance. So I think I'm in favor of listening to Mrs. Bacon's suggestions, because she did a lot of work on this, and quite honestly, I think she's got some excellent ideas in here, and it's time for a change, and I don't think we need to wait for Citron Cooperman to come back and tell us how to organize a committee. We need to be able to do that ourselves. This is part of our job.
Thank you for that comment. Anyone else comments?
Just to be clear for the record, I think Councilmember Bacon should offer her amendment, which hasn't been done yet. I know you were speaking of it as if it had been offered, but it hasn't been offered.
Do you want me to make a motion to amend?
That's if you want to amend the proposed resolution, yes, you should make a motion to amend it with your amendment, which we've talked about.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to amend the resolution.
Second.
Okay, motion, no, we had a motion and an original, a second.
this
Do
is a
we?
motion to
this-
amend.
To amend, okay, and a second, all right. Discussion, all right.
Well, I would like for you all to look at this. I mean, this is going to, in my opinion, it will definitely bring some accountability to the sewer subcommittee, especially having monthly reports, financial reports, to oversee and review the billing, just a couple of them. I mean, I would really hope that you would look at this, given the state that our sewer program is in, and the sewer subcommittee. I mean, this sewer subcommittee, one of the big things is they need to start coming before the council. I would really hope, I made the suggestions that, let's see, I'm sorry, that we have 7 voting members. And The membership shall consist of the finance director, town tax collector, town Department of Public Works, town engineer, town planning director. The town council shall appoint 2 qualified electors of the town of Coventry, 1 that will reside in a dwelling unit not serviced by municipal sewer, and 1 that resides in a dwelling unit which is serviced by the sewer system established by the town. Each appointment is for 2 years and shall be limited to serving not more than 2 successive terms. Terms of office are set up on staggered bases. 2 council members may be appointed by a majority vote of the council as liaisons, but not as voting members. They shall serve 2 years. Do you want me to continue with,
Well,
I mean,
it's up to you.
Are you asking me?
yeah, I'm asking you.
Well,
because- I would-
you can
I
read
would
it,
read
or
everything
it's up
in-
to you. It's your motion.
I mean, if you want, I'll read everything in blue.
It's up to you.
Do you want me to start from the beginning? Okay. Okay, be it resolved, the Coventry Town Council shall serve as the Coventry Sewer Commission. I also added further down, you all have this, right? Sitting here, okay. 2 members of the Coventry Town Council appointed by the Town Council President. 5, I'm just reading my additions in blue. I already read that one paragraph. Whereas all members of the sewer subcommittee shall be required to follow the code of ethics set forth by Rhode Island Code of Ethics, including the mandatory filing of the yearly financial statement of the Rhode Island Code of Ethics. Under which they have 6, I put no member. Following page, it's under where it says 7th, it said, I changed it to 4 members. Added sewer to the sewer subcommittee. Be it further resolved, this one, I mean, I just did it as suggestions, but I started amending the rules and procedures. I rewrote, and I put, be it further resolved that the Coventry Sewer Subcommittee shall be charged with the following responsibilities, duties, and assignments. All sewer contract awards, change orders must come before town council for approval and must provide the town council with the following documents. 1, copy of the entire bid/contract and envelope. The envelope must be time-stamped with the electronic date and time by the official time clock for the receiving and stamping located in Coventry Town Hall. 2, boring reports. 3, engineering reports. 4, availability of funds. And 5, a report on the financial condition of the sewer fund. B, elect a chairperson and vice chairperson annually. C, process review and must make written recommendations monthly to the town council relative to all abatements, assessments, sewer usage rates, sewer tie-ins, change orders, deferments, construction status update. And building sewer installation permits. D, oversee and review records of billings, income, and expenditures at least quarterly, information appearing on sewer usage assessment bills, format of forms being used by sewer subcommittee and any other forms being used by the sewer commission. E, must provide and present an annual budget in February to the town council, an annual budget established for expense accounts, administration budget, operations and maintenance budget, sewer debt, sewer construction, and any other sewer accounts established by the town. Review and discuss any sewer-related projects and issues. Review and discuss the intermunicipal agreement with West Warwick. Provide an updated service area map. F, the Department of Public Works and the Sewer Subcommittee must make every effort to coordinate the sewer program with the townwide paving program and other roadway projects to ensure the most cost-effective results. G, water and sewer rate study must be performed, and that could be for discussion, I don't know. Is it 2, 3, 5 years? H, sewer subcommittee must meet at least once per month, must provide and present a written monthly budget to actual summary reports for each sewer expenditure account and revenue accounts and the financial condition of the sewer fund to the town council. must provide the town council with construction status update, including a copy of agreed-upon work schedule, potential change orders, engineering/contractor concerns with the project. Those are my changes that I've proposed.
May I ask one question, Mr. President?
Yeah,
Just
sure.
for
Go right ahead.
clarification. On the, 1, 2, 3, 4, on the fifth page of the proposed amendment, the word "or" is big and highlighted.
Yes.
As if you can choose, but
well-
you could vote on this as one whole document, could you not?
Well,
other
the
words,
ones before, it's,
Can you explain what the "or" is for?
yes, I'm sorry, because, I mean, this was just, you wanted everything in writing, so I just did my suggestions. I didn't realize you wanted you wanted it so formal. So, right before where it says, 8th, be it further resolved, that basically is the same thing as under the "or." I just rewrote it and just kind of cleaned it up a little. These were just my.
So you're proposing it, so if we took,
For
if you
I
took
thought
the
this-
word "or" out,
Yeah,
wouldn't this reflect what you really want to propose?
exactly, but some
All
of this
right.
is redundant right above, that's all. I mean, I thought this was for discussion. I mean, these were just my thoughts, and I figured this would be, as we were talking about, a work in progress, and we would discuss this tonight. So if you look under where it says, right above, all of those, where under the 8th, it's just basically
Which
the
page are
same.
you talking about?
The one before.
Mhm.
See, it says sewer subcommittees shall be charged with the following responsibility, duties, and assignments. I mean, if it would, I would just redline that entire thing and just do the
All
"or."
right. All right, well, just for clarification, so we know what's being voted on.
Yes,
I
I'm
think it would be helpful if you chose, so it looks like you are breaking
Okay,
it
so
into
how
two
about-
separate
So I would
suggestions.
redline all of 8th, this entire thing, just,
So you'd
X that.
offer as an amendment right up to the word "or." Is that right?
I would remove where it's, see this, where it says 8th? I would redline that all the way to here, and I would submit all of this after the "or."
Okay.
After the "or."
All right, as long as the council understands that, does everyone understand what the proposal is?
Yes.
So you would cross out everything after the first "be it further resolved"
Yes.
up to the second "be it further resolved." Is that right?
Yes,
Which is about a page and a quarter removed.
yes.
Okay.
We're just talking, yeah. Oh,
Okay.
all of that,
Um,
yeah.
So page 1,
Yeah, he
2,
knows that. Well,
3.
this right here, yeah. It's just redundant. Oh, we're not talking about the first page,
no.
just that.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a couple of comments if I could, if we just, if
Yeah,
it's a
certainly.
discussion. Actually, where you have down a sewer subcommittee shall be required to follow code of ethics. They do. They do already have a code of ethics to follow. Everybody on this committee has to follow. the
But
code
at
of
this
ethics.
time, they don't have to file the financial, and I think that should be a requirement, given these projects. I mean, I think we should, so they do follow the code of ethics, but however, they're not, right now, filing their financials.
Because they're not an elected official.
The only
Well,
thing I would point
neither
out
is the
is
Planning
that
Commission.
the Ethics Commission has, in my opinion, the preemptive authority to determine who must file with them and what. In other words, we don't get to say as a town who is and is not subject to the code of ethics, and if they are, what they must file.
Could-
That is up to the Ethics Commission.
Okay, so I know the Planning
They
Commission, they
there's
file.
actually an article in the Rhode Island Constitution
Okay.
establishing them as almost like a fourth branch of government. So
Okay.
I think it's unrealistic to say that simply because this ordinance is going to say that they must file, that may not be the way the Ethics Commission sees it.
Then could we reach out? I mean, we have
Just
our.
like if we didn't say that they had to file, that would not exculpate them from filing if the Ethics Commission said you have to file. It's
Okay.
up to the Ethics Commission.
Could we reach out to the Ethics Commission? I mean, our planning our planning commission, those board members, they file financials,
But
correct?
that's because the Ethics Commission has determined that they must.
So that's what I'm asking. Can the town of Coventry reach out to the Ethics Commission and ask them, are they required to file a financial statement?
Well, of course, the town could
So
do
I think
anything like that.
we should look into that.
All right,
And
but we're
if-
talking tonight about the
Okay,
amendment to
but
the
I mean,
ordinance.
well,
and I
why don't
think-
we leave it in here, and if for some reason we need to remove it, at least we have it in there, and if it's redundant and they have to file, then it's just redundant.
It's your amendment. If you want to leave it in.
I would say leave it in there.
I was asked a question and I
Please.
tried to answer it.
Yes, yes, I'd like to.
Just a couple other points. I appreciate the work you put into it. There is a lot of work put into it, but I kind of feel like the same as Glenn. You know, we do have an audit coming up. We do have a solicitor that was well capable, and he put together a good ordinance at this time. I think it's jumping the gun before, if we just adopted the ordinance that our solicitor put together, and if changes need to be done, as per advice from an audit, we could always do that. But a lot of these are done already. In other words, you have here, be it further resolved, that the entire bid package and contract envelope, it must be time-stamped with electronic date. It already is. The bids are open at a meeting, a bid open meeting, when all the contractors show up. It's time-stamped. It's not done at the sewer subcommittee, level. So I don't think there's any need for that. Like I said before, I've been on the sewer subcommittee for eight years, and it's an advisory committee. We really don't. You have on here that you want to have the finance director and the public works director and I don't know exactly who else, but we don't make the financial decisions, legal, you said a lawyer should be there. Everything goes through our solicitor before it goes through the town council. We make an advice to the town council. It goes through our solicitor. Any financial decisions go through our finance department. We don't spend the money on it. We're strictly an advisory committee. So, we don't spend the money. The sewer subcommittee they don't have that much responsibility. We help with the contracts. We work with Weston and Sampson. We work with our engineers. But we do not make those decisions without consulting with our finance director or our legal attorney already. So, and that's all I have on that. I mean, I see you put a lot of work into it, but I just think it's just jumping the gun a little bit, and I think we're better off to wait and, adopt the one that our solicitor, who is well capable, he put together a good one, and then if we need to make changes after our audit comes back, I think that would be the time. That's just my opinion, all right?
All right, go ahead, then
No,
I
I
have,
have-
go ahead.
So, from what y'all are saying, we're expecting Citron Cooperman to come back to us and say, you have to reorganize your sewer subcommittee, or it's just peachy keen and we're gonna leave it the way it is?
Look,
I don't know, I
That's not what
don't
I'm
know if
thinking.
that's in there.
We have an ordinance right here that our solicitor put together, which is fine, it covers all aspects of it. Now, if they happen to come back and give us some other suggestions, then we can look at them. But they're not running the town, we are running the town. And our solicitor put together an ordinance that's fine in my eyes.
Well, Carrie, I understand that, but there have been instances with our ordinances, I won't go into which ones, that really didn't do well by the residents and taxpayers. I'm not gonna get into specifics, but, I could. So, I don't understand the issue of not improving, the transparency and the responsibility of the sewer subcommittee. I mean, I think, when you look at our committees, you've got planning, zoning, then I'm thinking right now, sewer subcommittee may well be the third most important committee we have in town.
Our ordinance drafted by our solicitor
But
does
our
address a lot of those
solicitor,
problems.
no offense, Mr. Solicitor. Nick, I love you, honey, but, he didn't write this ordinance. Wasn't this in place before you came along? Is this brand new that you wrote?
My task was to simply clarify a couple
Right.
of ambiguities in the ordinance. It was not a long-term fix. It was
Right.
just, as.
So now we're open to new ideas.
Because we weren't following it to begin with. That was the problem.
And
Well,
transparency and getting it done right.
I said what
Yeah.
I did what I was asked to do. There
So
were a couple of discrepancies, and I
really
fixed
urge
them.
you, this is something that this town needs. I mean, we need this. Our sewer subcommittee, obviously, look at the financial condition, look at what has happened with the sewer project. I strongly urge you to please vote for this and put this forward and reorganize our sewer subcommittee, have strong accountability going forward. Please, I urge you to do this.
All right, my turn. Again, I think you've done a lot of work. I know you've done a lot of work and given a lot of thought. Major concerns I have is that you're changing the membership shall. You got your town, all these are full-time town employees. They're going to be giving extra tasks on a monthly, or if not more so, finance director, town tax collector, the public works director, and they all have a part in the game for sure, or the project, I should
Those
say.
are our experts, though.
I'm speaking, thank you.
I know
Yeah,
you are, but
I understand
you like
that.
experts, and those are our
I under-
experts.
Thank you, Mrs. Carlson. All right. As I was saying before, semi-interrupted, the town finance director, the town tax collector, the public works director, the town engineer, the planning director, all full-time, and they shall. Maybe it will be recommended that they should, or one, or two, or three be on it. I think that's coming attractions. I think it's waiting to find out, as Councilman McGee said, see what they recommend. See if what's the economic cost on this, Mr. Waters. I have a question. Economic cost on this, if in fact any of it passed. This could be very, very expensive when possibly, excuse me. To have full-timers there, you know, more than their, well, I know they're on salary, but actually to be there, to do the work, et cetera. It may be, it may be, feasible, and it may not. It might be just the sewer subcommittee asking these individual questions at a particular time, on a particular meeting. And again, instead of saddling them and making it mandatory, I think we should wait. I'm not saying we shouldn't change the sewer subcommittee. It's been here for a long time before all of us.
Since 2004.
Right. So what I'm saying is that to clarify it, to ratify it, to legalize it the way it should be done, it's put in front of us now. It's ready to be voted on. Any additional changes can be discussed either between the council people, the planning, the town manager, the audit, the results, and then, it's not like it's never going to be done. It's a moratorium already till June. And then we get recommended changes, we can put them in. Instead of getting this on Friday morning, the 9th, and trying to vote on it tonight. I'm very comfortable. I was 2 months ago. We vote on this one. Now, I guess you've called the amendment or suggested amendment, and you've seconded. So I don't know if we call a vote, Mr. Gorham, on this?
The appropriate thing to do at this point, when the discussion is complete
Yep.
in the estimation of the council, is to vote on the amendment.
You got anything else to say? Okay.
Okay, so just because obviously I don't think I got an answer, are we expecting Citron Cooperman to tell us how to run the sewer subcommittee? I mean, are those our experts? We're waiting for them to tell us when they do this report, which is not an audit, it's procedural.
I'd have to go look at the proposal. I believe the only thing they're doing is looking at the sewer subcommittee minutes to look at the history of the program and what decisions or recommendations were made by the sewer
So
subcommittee.
they're not going to come back to us with any suggestions for how we are going to
Well, one of the
organize
things-
or run the committee?
Again, I'd have to look at the proposal. It doesn't sound familiar, but if the council would like to add that on as a task for the firm, they can look at that and make those recommendations.
I think you can, it's hard to predict what you're going to learn from a report that hasn't been prepared yet. But I don't, even if they didn't recommend changing the sewer subcommittee, I think it's fair to say that some of the recommendations Councilmember Bacon has made in her amendment may very well come to fruition as a result of what we read in that report. But I mean, really, I don't know what that report is going to say. I have some ideas, but, you know, it's just impossible to surmise at this point what the report's going to say.
Well, I guess my question is, are they specifically tasked
with
this-
reforming the committee?
Reforming
No.
or approve, okay,
No,
so then I
not-
think it's up to us to reform what isn't working. And hasn't been.
I'm not saying that I'm not suggesting that couldn't be done. I'm just clarifying because the question was asked. That could be done as a result of the report. But until you have the report, you don't know that. There may be suggestions that are even better, that are apparent after you read the report. I don't know, but it's just my
Then pass the
observation.
amendments, and then if additional have to be added, then we go forward from there. But obviously, what we have now and the makeup of that sewer subcommittee is not working. So please, I urge you to put this forward.
No more discussion?
Yep. Any more discussion? We've heard from all the council people on the amendments. If not, again, my point is wait for the advice to come back and then make the changes as we go down the line. You know, we're here next month, next week. I don't want to ask anybody to be removed. No, I understand, but, and I have, I am just saying, I don't want to ask anybody to leave. All I'm saying is that discussion, my point, and I think I've made it, you obviously, Mrs. Bacon and Mrs. Carlson have made your points. Mr. McGee, you made your point. Mr. LaBossiniere, you'll, I suppose, vote. And I think we do need changes. We need changes. But to change it right now, tonight, would be premature. To make all these full-time directors part of it and to change it everything, I'd rather do what we know is current, and then we change it as we go. Not tonight, not because two people said so and some people clapping.
Okay, if
All
you
right?
don't want to
What
change
I'm
the directors,
saying
at least
is,
change the responsibilities so
you
they
can
have.
Call the vote tonight on your vote. And that's it. That's my opinion. And it's been, we've waited 3 months, and we specifically waited. We've waited 3 weeks for any additions from what we've passed tabled twice, which is a couple meetings. I'm not going to discuss it. All right, I've already decided, personally.
You always decide,
I have
Glenn.
decided.
And that's why
the
my
vote-
district has problems, because you
thank-
guys won't listen.
That's good. Are you going to be respectful of council people?
No.
All right. All right, I guess you called the vote, and I second it. All in favor of all the amendments?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
Oh, shocking.
All right, now, let's go back to the one that was proposed a couple months ago, written up as requested by our town solicitor.
have a motion.
Well, all right, we'll go back to our original motion then. And town manager
been made and seconded.
desired. Made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
All right, and again, we welcome the future changes as it's recommended and as we come. Very good. Next on the agenda, F2, the final,
Hazard mitigation.
hurrah. Colonel, you want to speak on this, or is it, who speaks on this, Mr. Waters?
So the resolution that is included in the packet is for accepting the hazard mitigation plan, and the colonel can speak to more about the process and why the resolution has come before you.
Okay, I know we've discussed it, we've heard it. Regarding this that's brought before us on the resolution, Colonel, go ahead.
So basically, FEMA has approved this plan. The only step that's left is for council to approve it, and then it'll be sent back to FEMA with the council resolution for final adoption. And basically, it just means that we can, we can apply for hazard mitigation grants.
Okay, so there's no real cost regarding
No.
it, we can apply for
No,
grants.
the hazard mitigation plan's a living document. We
Okay.
continue to update it, and we have to go back in 5 years and get it approved again anyway.
And Colonel, just for clarification, this is just for man-made hazards, not natural disasters, correct?
No,
Or is it vice
well,
versa?
it's mitigation processes to prevent, when disaster happens, to prevent things from being worse than they are. So we looked at all, you've read through the document, so.
Okay. Any council people with questions?
Yeah, sorry, Carl. I have my hazmat thing here. But I haven't, this was, May of 17. Do we have an updated one? I mean, is this book been redone?
They made you've met with Carissa and
Yeah.
Ray. So they
Yes.
made the edits, the changes to those edits, and they forwarded those with the changes. So after the last document you've seen, there's really been no changes other than the changes you asked for.
So is this going to be a public document that
Yes.
if we wanted copies or anybody out there wanted a copy?
Yeah, we will hang it on the websites as soon as it's ready and approved. We just didn't want to do it prior to approval. But FEMA, Rhode Island EMA has approved it. FEMA Region 1 in Boston has approved it.
Okay.
Okay, so, because I have, it needs to be submitted to FEMA by the 28th of February, so it's ready to go to FEMA?
It's ready to go.
Okay,
It's
great.
been approved by FEMA.
So
it's
how
really
did
just-
REMA, how did they look at it? Did they have any
suggested some
changes?
edits. Not really. It was mostly spelling and things like that. It wasn't anything significant to the document. So we made those changes as well, and we got it turned around quick and sent to FEMA.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so, looks like it's ready to go. And how long does it take for FEMA to approve this and get it back?
I think as soon as we get it to them, it's really not, they're not going to really look at it again because FEMA, like I said, in
'Cause
Boston, Region 1 already
REMA
looked
and
at
then,
it.
yeah,
So
Regional
it's
1
really
did.
just, it's got to be packaged with the council approval.
Okay.
That's it.
Great, and then we can get a hard copy of it, just so,
I'll make sure you have-
terrific, thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Colonel. Any other questions of the council? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
And second, all in favor? Aye.
Who
Okay,
seconded it?
I think Mr. McGee did, or there was
Fine, I'll
two,
take the
two,
second. It was two
first,
motions.
There were two at
two,
the same time.
two at the same time. Okay. Now, I guess, is this correct? We adjourned before we discussed the budget calendar? Is that?
The budget calendar
Just
is
for
only attached
information.
for
All right.
informational
Okay.
purposes. There's
All
no
right,
discussion.
motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And we have the budget calendar for information.